If you want to publish a book, but you feel stuck, out of time, and you don't know what to do next, then it's time to finish the damn book. Here's your host, Susie Schaefer.
Welcome to this episode of Finish the Damn Book. I'm your host, Susie Schaefer. My guest today is Laura Van Tyne, a remote viewer, author, and speaker. Laura holds degrees in education, Spanish, and a master's degree in second language acquisition, having spent much of her life as a middle school teacher. Laura focuses on soul health and how we can cultivate a healthy soul. The unseen energetic world affects soul health and influences our free will. When we learn to discern otherworldly beings and who they are, where they originate from, we reclaim our power. And when we learn to connect with light beings, we can gain wisdom, insight, and invaluable assistance along our karmic journey. Reincarnation is part of our soul experiences. We all die. However, we rarely discuss what happens upon death. This is key to soul health, wellness, and sovereignty. Laura specializes in past life regression, etheric implant removal, quantum healing hypnosis, soul integration, and spiritual self-defense. Laura's books include Battle with the Dark Side, My Journey from Teacher to Exorcist, Spiritual War, Understanding the Unseen World and How It Affects Us, and Soul Tribe, Navigating the Spiritual War. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you. That was a mouthful, but thank you.
I got through it. I got through the intro.
Yeah, it's a lot of things, but having the books published really helps wrap it all up.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first time you published, which was Soul Tribe, that was your first go around. What challenges did you face during that first go round as a newbie author?
That was the most challenging by far. I had the book written, which was okay. And the hard part for me was formatting it and getting it in Amazon and figuring out like the ASIN number or an ISBN number and what was the difference and like getting a good cover design. And I'm happy with the cover design. I found a graphic artist who was from the Ukraine, and I was going to use her for the other two books, but she disappeared, unfortunately. So I don't know what that means. But it was the nuts and bolts that was the hard stuff for me. I did not have an editor, which I wish I would have because I think I could have had stronger, more succinct words, so to speak. But it was the actual publishing process to figure out the best way and how to and what abouts and getting stuck on the uploads and stuff like that. Those handful of challenges there.
Yeah. Okay. So then when you published your next two books, you pretty much did one and right after the other. And I know we worked together. Yeah. What was the difference in doing your second and third book versus your first book? What was that?
Okay. First of all, having somebody who knew what they were doing was super helpful. Okay. Muddled through the first book and, it's a good book. I'm happy with it, but it was really hard to get it from A to B, right? Getting it to cross the finish line. It was hard. And I had a huge deadline. I was speaking at an event with about 500 people like a month before that I published it. So it was like I was really under the gun. With the second book, Navigating the Spiritual War, that one was kind of a surprise book for me. You and I are talking about publishing the book Teacher to Exorcist, and I'm showing you my blogs, and I think you just said, hey, there's a book in here. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I said, why don't we just take your blogs and go through? And I think it was really well written. And so we literally just kind of did a data dump where we just went through the whole thing, dumped it, rearranged the order of the blogs to
rearranged them so they made sense.
Right. Because we wanted to have that flow. And so we literally just kind of took the whole thing and put it into a book format and then said, hey, let's just publish this as is, went through and did a little bit of proof editing on it, but it was pretty much verbatim your blogs.
Yeah. And that was just, I want to call it a serendipitous event, right? It was just serendipity. And when we find the serendipities in our life, it just flows so much more smoothly, excuse me. And that was fantastic for me. So we decided to publish that one first. because the third book, My Journey from Teacher to Exorcist, and which is interesting because I like the title a lot, but I find that people think it's scary. And then they
Oh,
read the book, and I get the same comments all the time. That was the funniest book I've ever read. I thought I would be scared.
right. Well,
Yes,
I think it's because, okay, again, we're conditioned to think when we hear the word exorcist, okay, we all go back to that movie in the 70s that scared the
right?
pants off of me. And we all think that that's what we're talking about, but it's really not. It's more, there's more to it. There's way more to it. So, but I do love the fact that with a title like that, it's compelling. So people, they want to talk to you, they want to hear from you, they want to say, well, what are you talking about? Like, what does that mean? Everybody thinks that if you're doing an exorcism, that it means you have to have a priest there in the garb and
And
it
yet over
looks
the edge
exactly
of
like it does in the
cross,
movie.
sprinkling
Yeah.
water on you.
Yeah. It's not like that at all. Yeah.
It's
And,
not.
and this is kind of not really off topic, but it's kind of a sidebar here. Why is it important for people to consider those things? Like, what is the impact if someone is carrying around a negative entity in their physical being? Why is it important to get rid of that?
We all have free will, or so we think we have free will. But when you are being bombarded by negative entities, demonic forces, heavy energies, negative energies, it impacts our free will and our soul sovereignty. And so the work I do is not meant to scare people, but it's meant to free and liberate people. The brain fog that a lot of people are experiencing, the unexplained anxieties, where do these things come from? And the reality is that we have to understand that there's a whole unseen world that exists, that when the Luciferic forces left the light of God, they needed a food supply because they no longer had access to the light from the higher realms, from the heavens, whatever you want to call it. And so when they came here, they left the light of God. They're like, okay, we got these humans, let's tap into them. It's that simple. What's also simple is that we have the ability and the right of refusal, but we have to know what's happening first.
Right. And this is where we talk about boundaries, protection, those kinds of things. And full disclosure to our listeners, I've worked with Laura and she actually helped me with a past life regression where I had a past life that child had not yet crossed over. And so we worked through that together. And it's fascinating and really cool to go through the experience. So yeah, for what
Well,
it's
and
worth.
what I do though is I want you to be a part of the journey.
Right.
Because I can tell you all of these things, but how do you know it's real? But when you can have the experience of seeing in the ethers and experiencing this, you know it's real. And I just serve as a guide, as an intermediary in the work that I do. And it lent itself to honestly publishing these books so people could understand how these concepts work.
Yeah. And that they don't feel alone because people, when they go through experiences like this, especially any kind of spiritual ascension, awakening, the symptoms can be very disrupting and disconcerting. And so people a lot of times think that they're going crazy or that, oh, I'm going to chalk it up to just being in menopause or whatever they might think it is, when really there's something deeper, more rooted in what's going on with you in your physical life.
Absolutely. And when we can understand that, even 250 years ago, nobody believed that viruses and bacteria existed because we couldn't see them
Right.
until the invention of the microscope, right? But there they are. With the invention of the microscope, people started believing this. What they'd start doing, they started washing their hands. A simple tool, wash your hands. It saved lives, literally. And with our technology today, we're picking up more and more of these unseen elements in our phone cameras all the time. Orbs or ghosts or rods, or I even have a couple spaceships on mine. It's like, whoa, but you can't see them with the naked eye,
Right.
but you
Yeah.
can, camera picks them up.
And a lot of that has to do with our conditioning, but also our ability to, we're our lives are kind of created in a mold, in a box, if you could say that. And until you are able to think outside the box, then these things don't seem real, even though they are very real and they're part of our earthly, existence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times people will say, I don't know why I said that. Maybe there was something puppeting you.
Yes. Oh, interesting. Interesting, creepy and interesting, but it's good information because people need to know this. So let's talk about like your author journey. In conjunction with you publishing and writing your books, did you have any aha moments that happened? Things that you were just kind of like, oh, I never saw it this way before. Like, what was that like for you?
A lot of the aha moments I had were with the third book because I had to re-edit some things and I didn't know how. And I had to put it away. And that book took me a couple of years to write. That's a very personal book. And I think it's easier to publish a blog book or a handbook or a how-to book. But when it's a personal nonfiction book, that becomes really hard and personal. And so I had to learn to put it down, step away, because forcing myself to write, forcing myself to do these things wasn't working. And I was constantly hitting my head against the wall on that. And I had to remember to be patient.
Mm,
I'm not
yeah.
good at patience.
Like giving yourself a little grace, right?
Yes, exactly. And so that was kind of my biggest aha moments. Like, you know what? And then when I stopped, the words just flowed out. It was like it was being dictated through a higher source. And I was able to do what I needed to do to make the book what it is today.
Mm-hmm. Now that you've published 3 books, what are some of the results that you're seeing in as far as your business? How did that translate over to the business and you working with people?
I think books in general are the modern day business card, right?
Yeah.
So what it does is it lends to my credibility of what I do. My first 2 books are How This Unseen World Works. The third book is my experiences of what makes me an expert in this area. And I'm finding that the books have actually put me in the Google SEO as far as like psychic attacks and soul sovereignty. I'm ranking #1 in many countries across the world. And I think it's because of the books.
Yeah.
And I really don't have a lot of stars on Amazon or anything because I've never pushed it, but I know it's getting out there because I can see it in the sales. And I should be asking people for that. And I haven't been, I feel like I'm shy that way,
Yeah.
but I shouldn't be.
Interesting. So what types of spiritual experiences have you had that you can attribute to putting yourself out there and publishing these books and actually becoming a leader in your industry?
It has been very, to say the least. I will get somebody from Croatia or Slovenia. I mean, these random countries that are so exquisite in history, but also with a lot of energetic, interesting timelines to them, right? And people will reach out to me and they write to me all the time, oh my gosh, your book makes so much sense. I understand what is going on my property now. I understand this now. And they end up converting into customers literally, I would say at least 90% of the time. I'm usually booked out at least a month. And I don't do any advertising, knock on wood, but I'm word of mouth. And the books are part of that word of mouth because they see them on Amazon, et cetera. And I do incorporate them onto my website so people can see that they're there. I think that's a really big marketing tool is to have your books listed on your website and have the other tools on your website also.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you say to people who claim to be real but are fakers in this arena? Because there's, we all know that there are people that claim to be shamans, mystics, guides, et cetera, and who truly are faking it.
Well, first of all, they make the ones that are true look bad to a certain degree, but they also because of them, I have more customers or clients, unfortunately. Interesting, I'm having a podcast come out within a month from now called The Trickster. So I have a client who I work with on a regular basis, and she and her daughter went to Nashville to go have some fun for a weekend, and they decided to see this psychic. And this psychic was a master of dark arts, got them convinced they had curses, got them convinced that she had a death spell on her, on the daughter, got her to convince there was love spells against the daughter, all of these things. And they were terrified. And then the guy's like, he had smoke paper also. And so he was doing some things, and all of a sudden smoke was coming up from what appeared nowhere, right? And what he was also doing is he was hypnotizing the mom. Because the mom has the money, right?
Right.
And so he tried to convince them. She paid them, I think it was like $500 or $800. It was a lot of money.
Wow.
Okay. And then he comes in, he says, you have this demon on you and it's the worst thing ever. And you brought into my home. How dare you? Da, da, da. So he's making them feel guilty also, right? So now, then he says, in order to remove this, I need 3 1-ounce pieces of gold. You can go to Costco. I'm not kidding you.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that tons of red flags around that one for sure.
Oh my
So,
gosh. Yeah.
this is where
And
we have to just say, people use your discernment. If you're going to a quote fortune teller or someone who, is practicing dark arts, stay away from those people. They are no good, right?
yeah. And so, anyways, they got out, but she was just like, oh my gosh, Laura, I thought everybody was like you.
Yeah, they're not.
No, yeah. And so, anyways, it all ended well, but it was quite a lesson. And so, on the podcast that I do, it's about showing people how it works too. So that's going to
Yeah.
be one coming up. But these charlatans are everywhere. Ask around.
And you're right, they've been around forever. Think about when people used to go to the carnival or the circus and there would be the fortune teller or, the gypsy with the crystal ball. Like this has been something that's been in existence for years. I mean, look at all the stuff that went on with the Salem witch trials. There's all these things in it. So much of it goes back to dark arts and people that are doing negative things and, all that. So, just use your discernment, people.
Yeah. Use your discernment and don't let it overtake you.
Yeah.
And they got out, but there's a lot of this. I get a lot of people that come to me because they went to a healer and now they're even sicker. My goal is that you need to be one and done, or at least 3 and done, versus like a long project, unless there's something significant happening. But you shouldn't have to rely on somebody. You should also ask for references. You should ask, how do you remove? How do you do this? And if they don't like your questions, run. If you don't like
Yeah.
their answers, run. If they have health issues or wealth issues, run, because they're
Yeah.
getting their payment from somewhere else.
Yeah. What types of services do you offer? We kind of, hit on a couple of those in your bio, but really, talk to people about, what do you do? Like, how do you work?
So you and I work together as a team, like I said, so you can see what's happening around your energetic field. I have a way to show you how to see psychically. And we clean things up, we remove them, and we close the door. Never leave a doorway open. But, it can be a spiritual consultation, such as, how do I connect to my higher self?
Mm.
Those types of elements. I feel like I have and something's watching me, to past life regression. So I do a lot of healing work, which I don't advertise on my website. I don't need the attention, but sometimes people need a specific thing that the medical industry says, we don't know what's going on.
Right.
And it's all energy.
Yeah.
It's just all energy.
Well, and you and I have talked in the past too about the fact that many of the times things that are going on physically in our bodies are really energetically.
Yeah.
There are things that we need to let go of, things that we need to heal within ourselves, and it can affect our bodies in a variety of different ways. Whether it's a lung issue that might signal that there's grief that's undealt with, or something else. Many times people don't understand the energetics behind what is going on in your physical body has a lot to do with what's going on in your emotional body.
Releasing of the emotions can be so healing and return the vitality to the organs also. It's
Yes.
a big.
Absolutely. And then too, looking at there is a place for Western medicine, Chinese medicine, all these things, but you have to know, what am I starting with? What's my base? Like what's going on? If, 50% of my physical issues are actually emotional issues, then no amount of medicine is going to fix that. You have to do the work.
Yeah. And the Band-Aids are okay, but you still got to do the work to do that inner healing too. And, living a mortal life has never been more hard, in my opinion, than it is right now.
Yeah, we signed up for it. So here we are.
Yeah, it's like, why? Honestly, no, I'm kidding.
I don't remember signing that contract, but somehow I did.
I know, right? Man, I'm supposed to be retired with the teacher's pension, okay?
Oh, but life would be so boring.
I know, right? I know.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about intuition, because this is one of my favorite topics to talk to people about. So tell me about a time like when you did or maybe didn't use your intuition, when you realized, what was happening, and what were the results from that?
I'm a firm believer in intuition. I'm a firm believer that a lot of people had it knocked out of them as children.
Mm.
I'm also a firm believer that we can regrow our intuitive abilities. Our intuition is our superpower. It's not seeing dead people. It's our intuitive abilities. When we can connect with our intuition, we connect to God, to source, to our higher selves, etc. Our intuition is so powerful. The most powerful intuitive hit I've ever gotten, and I get a lot of them, I get them all the time. About a year and a half ago, I was having dinner with a friend of mine, and her husband was out of town, and we're just chit-chatting. And I looked at her and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to come by tomorrow morning and take you to work. And she's like, what? Because she was tired, right? She was just really tired. She was working a lot, and we had a project that we were doing together also. And she's like, oh, that's crazy. I'm like, no, I'm just going to pick you up and take you to work. I wouldn't take no for an answer. And I'm thinking, why did I say that? Right? Made no sense. So I pick her up the next morning. I don't run around asking friends if I can take them to work. Okay. And we're on our way. I pick her up and I said, look, I'm going to go work at a coffee shop. While she's in the office, I'm going to work in a coffee shop. I'm going to go kickboxing. I'm going to, and I'll meet you and I'll just pick you up and we'll go do our project afterwards. And about 15 minutes into the car ride, she has the widowmaker heart attack in my car. If I would not have taken her to work, she would have died of a heart attack. And worse yet, she could have killed somebody else in that. And I didn't know why at the time, out of my mouth, without my full knowledge, came, I will take you to work tomorrow. And I've learned to go with the flow on those things.
Yeah.
Trust yourself. So long story short, double bypass, she's totally fine.
Wow.
And this is the power of our intuition. And we just have to tune into it and trust it. We tend not to trust our intuition, and then we get hit over the head by the cosmic 2x4. So
Yeah.
just trust it.
Yeah. The love shove when the nudges are there, right? I talk about this all the time. And you know what? I'm one of those people that I knew as a child, a young child, that I had very strong intuition and that I was tapped into my psychic abilities. But I, like most children, got put into the box. This is what you should do. This is the way you're supposed to live your life. These are the things that, these are the rules, right?
Right.
And so your intuition tends to get stifled and stuffed down. And pretty soon, especially when we make mistakes or things that we perceive as mistakes, and then we don't realize, oh, I should have followed my gut instinct on that, right? And so, but then we're also shamed when we make mistakes. So those are all things that start to layer upon us using our intuition, and they get shut down. My intuition didn't come back until I was in my probably mid 40s, and it came on like a freight train. And I was like, it was amazing to me. I suddenly saw things that I couldn't understand. My husband actually at the time thought I was crazy. And of course, gaslit me, even though I was going through something that was very profound. And I realized later, thank God my intuition turned on, because has saved my life in a couple times now. Different situations where somebody was meant to do harm. And, right. And yeah, thank God it came back to me when it came back, because it then launched me into looking at my entire life, my career, what I was doing. It got me more tapped into my North Node of Aries, of really stepping out into a powerful position in order to serve others. And so, learning about intuition just was like the light bulb went on. So as you know, I love to read the cards. So let's pull some cards. Now, do you want to ask something on behalf of our listeners?
Yeah, let's see here. I think a listener needs to know, when is the time right for that? That's not a question, it's a statement. How do I know, like, when the time is right to, put my story out there? What are some of those signs that, when do I know when my story should be put out there?
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. When is the right time to share my story? Okay, this is fascinating. First of all, the first card out is a 44. So that's a master number. I encourage our listeners to look up the meaning of 44 because for each person, it may be different. Like even if you Google 44 today and then you Google 44 tomorrow, it could be a different meaning. It's whatever the vibration is, it's going to give you that answer. So it could have different meanings for you, but fours are really about balance and stability. This is the thinker card. So this is very interesting because the thinker card, like she's sitting on top of these blocks. These blocks represent the foundation. You already have, for our listeners, you already have the foundation. Stop overthinking it. Like just do it. Get off your little butt. She's sitting on the edge of those foundation pieces. Get off your butt and do it. You already have the foundation. You have everything that you need to move forward and share your story. Even if it is being a guest on a podcast or writing a blog or writing an article for a magazine or something like that. Just do it. The next card is a 21. So 2 + 1 is a 3. 3 is the number of the teacher. This is the clean it up card. So what this says is it's time to clean up your energy. Like stop overthinking, stop ruminating, stop, getting all in your head, clean up your energy, get to that higher vibration of thinking about the what ifs. What wouldn't it be cool if, I had a published book too. What would it do for my business? Clean up your energy. You can also see that this is an elk on this card. The elk is 4-legged. I talked about 4s being about balance. So 4 in a 4-legged creature is like a 4-legged table. It's stable. It's sturdy, right? The elk also has antlers. Antlers read the ethers. It reads the energy. It taps into the higher self. And then we have a 23 card. 2 + 3 is 5. 5 is the number of change. So this card is the peace card. This is saying, get ready for change. But in order to have peace, there's an egg on this card as well. You must do something creative. Right now, the energy is all about us being creative and using our abilities to make something new. Eggs represent fertility, creation, the birth of new ideas. So it's saying, get outside your head, clean up your energy, and get into this place of, okay, I'm peaceful. What does that mean? Can I sit here and journal and just be in a place of peace? It's going to actually change a lot of things for you, but change is good. If we stay the same, we are stagnant. So yeah, some really nice cards for that. I like it. Thanks for that question, Laura.
You're welcome. You said something that made me think of something else when it comes to writing. A lot of people don't know where to start. Simply open up your Google Doc or your Word document and just dictate.
Yeah.
To get started that way. It's an easy way to get started, and then you can get some structure from there.
You can even, if you're going to go for a walk, and of course, I live in a beautiful place where there's lots of nature, go out in nature, put your phone on record, and just talk to yourself, talk to your higher self. But, you can just dictate it. I also, Laura knows this, but, the sticky note method is fantastic for trying to create the structure of your book. And, it's just, I think, really, really helpful because instead of that thinker cards coming up, instead of it being in your head, you're getting it out so that you can, when you let go of things or you write it down or you dictate it or whatever, when you get it out of yourself, then you're creating more space to do more creation.
You're reminding me of a difficulty I did have with the third book that you solved for me.
What was that?
That is part of the book is explaining how these things work, but I have 10 separate true stories that happened to me. Ghost type of stories, right? And I couldn't figure out how to weave all the stories in. And you're like, no, they're all standalones. And it just freed me up to get the book done. It was such an aha, but yet basic moment. And so you're so good at those little nuances of just pushing it across the finish line in a good way. So I really want to thank you. I was struggling with that for a year, long.
Yeah. And sometimes that's the overthinking that we do, right? So sometimes you have to get out of your head, but many times it's somebody helping you from a different perspective because I saw it completely different. I'm like, no, it isn't all one story. These are separate stories. These are chapters in your book. This is how you can actually show examples to people of the experiences that you personally had that would demonstrate the type of work that you do to help people.
Yeah, it was just that change of thought that you gave me got it across the finish line so much easier.
It's about perspective. And sometimes it just helps to have
You're
somebody
really
else.
good at that, though. I appreciate your level of organization. I appreciated your spreadsheets and your time tracking, and you're really good at it. And it's not pushy at all.
Oh, thank you.
It's not at all. It's just like, okay, then this, then this, then this. And you've got this formula that just makes it so easy and it's so tailored. If I need an editor for this, or if I need this, you're like, okay, I got your guy kind of thing. It just, it was such an easy one-stop shop process where I could maybe pick and choose a little bit more of what I needed from the book. Like, for example, I already had the cover concept, right?
Mm.
And so I gave it to you and you gave it to your designer and he's like, here you go. And I was like, dang, that's perfect. That looks better than I thought it could.
Well, on the one book where we have the image that wraps around to the back with the
Yeah.
people on it, I just loved that so much. I was like, oh, this is gorgeous.
Oh, it's my favorite one.
Yeah.
It just because it evokes love and family, and the wraparound cover was just beautiful. I mean, they did such a beautiful job with that. Did find the images, but I'm good at that, and I know that. And so that was one of my skill sets that I could have, but somebody else might be good at, editing their own work versus finding a cover. So everything you offer is tailored to that author's needs, and I really appreciated that.
Thank you. And honestly, that's one of the things of why the business is designed the way it is, so that it does feel like white glove service. And each project is different. And I respect that the book is different. The author is different. They have a different experience. They come with different information and knowledge about how the industry works. And so, and I just said this to somebody on another call. I said, yeah, we're not on my timeline. We're on your timeline, not mine. So it is, however long the book takes, it takes it. But we want to make sure that all the necessary elements are there so that you can show up, and be competitive with anything that you're going to see on the shelf of a bookstore.
Yeah. And I love that. And I didn't know this between my first book and the second two books, is that how to get them into bookstores. By the way, my second two books, I keep getting these emails from Ingram Spark saying that this bookstore my books are being carried in the UK at bookstores.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know that could be a thing until you came along. I mean, I don't even know how the bookstores find me. Okay. But they do. So I've got bookstores sprinkled all over the UK that are putting, it's just a copy or two, but it makes a difference.
It does.
And when you see that, bookstores are carrying your books, it's kind of exciting. It's not like it's going to be like.
Yeah. But that also translates to the fact that if you have books in the UK, that also means that there are going to be people that can find you and the services that you offer so that they can work with you as your client. So
Absolutely.
It all works together. Like a lot of people don't understand how that happens. And I'm like, and it doesn't happen overnight. You have put in the work. I've seen the work that you've put in. And so it doesn't just magically happen.
Right.
There's no fairy dust involved here, people, but there is setting intentions. There is using your intuition, right? So that might be a little bit of fairy dust, but really you have to do the work. And, that's where my role is. My role is to support and uphold and hold space for authors, talk them off the ledge when they start having doubt. That's all part of my job. I always say that I'm not a therapist, but there's sometimes can be a lot of therapy type work that I do with authors, because many people are saying, oh, why? Who's going to care about my story? And I'm like, no,
There's
it's important.
a lot of, vulnerability putting yourself out there.
And you, with the Exorcist book, you went through that yourself because you were afraid to share that part of your life, but yet that memoir is powerful.
Yeah, that was hard to do. Reliving those experiences was hard to do also. But what has come out of it is that somebody will say, oh, that happened to me. Oh, this happened to me. Or literally, I've got the Sage story where everybody's like, oh my God, I never laughed so hard. So, and all of these little things. And everybody's story is important. We are all pieces of the spiritual puzzle. And we all have these puzzle pieces, and when we can share, when we can produce, work together, it makes the world a better place.
I totally agree. And what happens in your own personal life, the healing that you go through when you take that step and share your life or share your words or your story with others. A lot of people don't realize that it really is a healing process. And so it makes you be able to close the chapter on that part of your life and say, you know what, I'm a different person because of that experience. And that right there, that's the kind of change that you want to see, because that's elevating you to next level, to do the next things that you want to do in your life.
Absolutely. And we all have a story, and our story will always help somebody else. We have to understand and know that.
Yeah. Laura, do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
You know what? You, Susie. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay. You made it so easy. I mean, it was literally effortless, other than having to do, the to-do list kind of thing, but it was so effortless, very professional. You would not know that my second 2 books were self-published.
No, honestly,
Yeah.
your books are gorgeous. So
Yeah, you would never know it. And so it's worth it. You're worth every penny.
thank you.
And by the way, I got my ROI back from, what I paid you as fees within a month or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
It happened. So I'm in the plus side of that, because I look at a cost analysis of everything I do, because I'm an independent business person. But putting that money up front, it's been paid forward already, and it was very quick.
And sometimes it's not in the form of book sales. So a lot of times what happens is the ROI, what you spend on doing your book, a lot of times comes to you in the form of 1 or 2 clients.
That is
because
true.
They found your book. Now that's the way that I look at ROI too. And that's something that I do work with authors about and say, look, don't try and focus on the book sales. That's kind of like the gravy, right? That's the extra that you want to look at. Where are you getting speaking engagements? What types of clients are you going after? How many clients does it take to make up this investment? Because that's really where a good business person is going to look at that versus saying, oh, how many books do I have to sell? I'm like,
Absolutely.
Don't worry about the book sales.
And even my online classes are selling because of the books.
Yes.
So it's full circle, and I'm grateful for it. I'm humbled by it. I am grateful that people have enjoyed and find value in the books, but I have to credit you for helping me get them out there. And even the bonus book of the blog book, which I need to do a second one soon.
Yeah, you sure do.
I'm at 108 blogs now. So the first 50 are in the first book.
That's fantastic. I love the fact that you're also a voracious writer, like that you have no problem like knocking these blogs out, and they're always chock full of great information. Laura, how can people find you to work with you, find your blogs? And I'm assuming that you have your links to your books on the website, right?
I do. Absolutely. It's lauravantyne.com. It's just my name.com, and social media is the same. And that's the easiest way to find me. And my website is designed to carry information to help people, because when I work with people, they tend to be in crises. You may need to you may not be able to afford me or whatever it is. And that's where the blogs and that information comes from. And build up your spiritual toolbox.
Yeah.
Everybody deserves that. And the goal is to get a healthy soul, create a healthy soul.
I love that. I'm also going to spell it out for our listeners. So lauravantyne.com is LauraVantyne.com, because I want to make sure that people have access to get to your website and see all the things that you offer. Get a copy of your books because they are great, super awesome reading, by the way. And Laura, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity.
And if you found this interesting, I encourage you to join me for the next episode, and be sure to subscribe. Every week, one lucky listener who subscribes and posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes will be entered into a drawing for the grand prize, a private VIP day with me, valued at $25,000. So be sure to subscribe and post a review. Until then, keep on writing so you can finish the damn book. We'll see you next time.
So that's it for today's episode of Finish the Damn Book. Head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week that posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes will win a chance in the grand prize drawing to win a $25,000 value private VIP day with Susie Schaefer herself. Head on over to finishthedamnbookpodcast.com and pick up a free copy of Susie's gift. And join us on the next episode.